Okay, well, the first thing I can say about this car is it's absolutely gorgeous looking, very good looking vehicle. Another very finely built German specimen. Bit bigger this one, but I have to say it does feel a bit dingy and pokey at the front. This is the Sport line. You know, I can immediately feel the responsiveness of this car. It's front wheel drive, I think. I'm not too sure whether it's a quattro or front wheel drive, but the steering is light, but it's not airy light. You feel like you're connected to the steering wheels like with the engineering of a Swiss watch. It really is lovely. I've just literally got out of an Aston Martin now, which had heavy, horrible steering. But this car, it's almost like I'm flying. It's beautiful. It's power assisted steering, but it's also enables you to feel as you drive as well. Visibility out of the rear window is particularly small, but it's not enough to hinder you, to worry you about that side of things. The rear, the mirrors, side mirrors are at a good level, good visibility there. Could do with a bit more headroom. In fact, I'm actually banging my head on the ceiling now, and the only way I'm getting away with it is because my head is sticking through the sunroof part. So it is a very, very low car. The braking on this car, although it's powerful and feels responsive, it does feel a bit grabby. It's not a sharp grabbiness, but it kind of feels that once you're putting the brakes on, it's clinging. It's almost hanging on to the brakes, which is not what I want. I want to be able to brake and feel the difference in the pressure I'm applying. It really does feel that you're catching onto the brake disc rather than applying to it. Dashboard on this is very, very nicely designed. The dials, beautifully clear. Actually, they're clear, but there's are parts of it which are a bit complicated. The speedo in particular, I find, is a little bit congested, I think is probably the best word to describe it when it comes to the digits. It'd probably be a better display at night time, I think. But you can see the dials and they're not obstructed by the top of the steering wheel, which happens in so many cars. It's just not funny. But this car does have a claustrophobic feel to it, which is rather disappointing. And to be honest, you know, nobody wants to feel claustrophobic in a vehicle. You want to feel like you've got a protective layer around you. I feel now, even though this is a big car, that I'm sitting in a car which is designed for somebody smaller than myself. It's like a small person's car, but it's not a small person's car at all. It's why should it feel claustrophobic? You know, the gear changes are lovely. This car does feel very sporty. You know, the shocks are fantastic. They're very solid. The gear change is very rapid and very smooth. The interior quality, I would say, is just as good as any Aston Martin. It's lovely. You know, maybe the dashboard's a bit plasticky, a bit cheap in that section, but it certainly makes up for it in other areas. Got a nice chunky steering wheel. Car feels very agile. Very, very agile. Steering is very responsive. It's quite excellent. But I just don't like the brakes. I mean, maybe you could get used to them. I don't know, but I just don't like this clingy brakes. It's just every time you put the brakes on, you're reminded of it. You feel like your attention's drawn to it. I don't want my attention to be drawn to the braking. I want to brake and get on with it. There are back seats, but they look a bit basic. At 60 now. It is pretty rapid, this car. The thing is, as you accelerate in this car, you don't hear any engine noise at all. It doesn't sound like the engine is straining in any way at all. It's so smooth, it's very rapid. There's no big burble of a big powerful engine. It's almost like you're on the Starship Enterprise and it just goes into warp drive. It's fantastic. With a lot of Mercedes, when you do the kick down, in some cases it almost feels like a second before the car actually responds. This one doesn't. This one is here right now, it's ready to go. And I'm not in the sport mode either, so I would have to say out of all the Audis, this is probably one of the best ones I've had for a while. I'm just going to do a quick kick down test now. 3, 2, 1, kick down. No, that's the same as a Mercedes. There's a big lag before it responds. Now, the reason why I bring that up as an issue is obviously we think of brakes getting us out of trouble when we're driving, but there are occasions when being able to accelerate will get you out of trouble as well. So, for example, you're overtaking a lorry on the motorway and you need to get past it in time to avoid an obstacle, perhaps. You need to know your car's going to respond. And that second lag, or whatever it may be, could be the difference between you making that or not surviving. Now I put it into sport mode now. I'm going to see if it makes a bit of a difference. 3, 2, 1, kick down. It's a little bit more responsive, a little bit quicker off the mark, but it's still not quick enough in my own opinion. But just to basically summarise now, I think this is a lovely car. I think it's so nicely put together. It feels like it's put together really, really well. The engine delivery is fantastic. The gearbox is possibly one of the best I've come across in a very, very long time. The acceleration on the car is rapid and the gear change is absolutely wonderful. If I had to drive across a great distance, drive across the country for example, I wouldn't think about a big GT car like an Aston Martin. I personally would be quite happy with one of these because it is a quality car, it drives well, it clings to the road, and it's got a fantastic engine and gearbox. The only thing I don't like about it is the brakes. The brakes are a little bit clingy, and further still, it's a front wheel drive. I can feel it now. I don't like front wheel drives. If this was a rear wheel drive, I would want it myself. Unfortunately I can't. I've got to sell it just like every other car. But out of all the cars I've driven, this one is definitely in the top 10. Beautiful car, good looking car, fantastically put together. Driving on the roads is an absolute pleasure. I can imagine in the wet the front wheels will be sliding all over the place, but this is a lovely car. It really is a good one. If you're thinking about buying one of these, if you're lucky enough to be able to afford one, I'd say you'd be a fool not to. This car is amazing. It's a lot of car. Very, very good. Very impressed. Buy one.